Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to fundamentally reframe how we look at obesity. For far too long, the public narrative has, frankly, reduced this to a simplistic lifestyle choice. We absolutely have to move away from that. In this explainer, we're treating obesity exactly as the clinical data shows, a deeply complex biological and environmental pathology. We're going to explore how our own biochemistry can sometimes turn against us and how systemic inflammation literally rewires the brain's understanding of hunger. Let's get right into it.
Okay, here is the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll start with the epidemic context, move into adipose biology and genetics, map out the neurohormonal regulation of weight, examine the clinical and metabolic complications, and wrap up with dietary and pharmacological interventions.
Section 1. The Obesity Epidemic Context, a Global Public Health Challenge. For our public health scientists tuning in, we first need to grasp the sheer scale of this crisis. According to the World Health Organization, there are over 1.6 billion overweight and obese individuals worldwide. To put that into perspective, this number is now double the amount of people suffering from undernutrition. And the economic hit? It's devastating. It costs the U.S. healthcare system alone $147 billion every single year. We're looking at a profound systemic strain on global medical infrastructure. Now, to our analytical chemists and clinicians, getting our definitions right is absolutely critical here. People toss these terms around interchangeably, but they are very different. Overweight simply refers to excess weight for given height, usually based on actuarial tables. But obesity, that refers specifically to excess body fat that causes a significant impairment of health. It's the excess fat tissue itself and the highly active hormones it secretes that drives the pathology. It's not just a number on a scale. Section 2. Adipose biology and genetics, the cellular pathology. For the geneticists and biochemists with us, we have to look at the cellular drivers. Genome-wide scans have flagged the FTO gene variant. Get this, carriers of 2 copies of this variant are up to 6.6 pounds heavier, and they are 67% more likely to be obese. This predisposition is literally hard-coded into their DNA. And when we zoom into the cellular level, we see 2 very distinct pathways. On the left, you have hypertrophic obesity. This is where a normal number of fat cells simply become enlarged. But on the right, you have hyperplastic obesity, where there's an excess number of fat cells. Now here is what is truly concerning. When a person loses weight, their fat cells only shrink. They do not disappear. So someone with hyperplastic obesity, meaning they just have too many fat cells, has to shrink those cells to an abnormally small size just to appear normal weight. This creates a permanent, lifelong metabolic struggle. Furthermore, regional fat distribution matters immensely. Notice the central android fat on the left, often called the apple shape. This isn't just inert storage, like a passive suitcase for extra calories. It is highly metabolically active. This specific central fat strongly predicts cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and hypertension. Where the fat sits is just as dangerous as how much fat there is. Now, consider this incredible metabolic reality. Obese individuals can actually have 20% to 25% less ATPase enzyme activity. What does that mean? It means their red blood cells are burning up to 22% less energy compared to a person of normal weight. Their bodies are simply highly fuel-efficient machines, perfectly designed to store fat. This enzymatic reality really drives home our core thesis. Obesity is a biological predisposition, not a moral failing. For our biochemists, let's talk about brown fat. Found mainly in the neck and chest, you can think of it as a cellular mini furnace. It rapidly burns glucose to produce heat via a specific protein called mitochondrial uncoupling protein 1, or UCP1. But here is the biological catch. Thinner people simply have more active brown fat than heavier people. Once again, biology is dictating the metabolic burn rate right from the start. Which brings us to Section 3, neurohormonal regulation of weight, the endocrine factory. Shifting to the endocrinologist in the room, we absolutely have to discard the old idea of fat as just passive storage. It is actually a highly active endocrine factory. Just look at this complex web of hormones. They all converge on the brain's arcuate nucleus to regulate fuel metabolism and body weight. You have leptin from fat cells, signaling fullness, ghrelin from the stomach, signaling hunger, peptide YY from the GI tract, inhibiting feeding. It's a delicate, continuous, and really fascinating chemical conversation happening between your gut, your fat, and your brain. But right here is where the system breaks down. Leptin resistance. Obese individuals actually have very high circulating levels of leptin. Their body is literally screaming that it's full. However, there's a functional defect. They experience impaired blood-brain transport, or a postreceptor defect. So the crucial takeaway here is that high leptin in obese patients doesn't stop their hunger because their brain is literally locked out from receiving the signal. The brain completely believes the body is starving. Let's transition to Section 4, Clinical and Metabolic Complications, the Toxicology of Obesity. Now we're calling on the toxicologists. This is fascinating and deeply concerning. Did you know that C-reactive protein, or CRP, which is a well-known biomarker for systemic inflammation, actually binds directly to leptin in the body? What's truly wild about this is how systemic inflammation chemically sabotages the body's ability to know when it is full. By directly attaching to leptin, CRP prevents the hormone from ever crossing into the brain, so inflammation is directly causing the continuation of overeating. Because of these severe dysregulations, we see catastrophic multi-system complications in the clinic. We're talking about severe insulin resistance, a significantly increased risk of kidney failure, and really tragic developmental impacts, like the early onset of clinical puberty in young girls. Most alarmingly, we are now seeing non-alcoholic liver disease in adolescents that is so severe they are requiring liver transplants. These cascading failures are typically triggered precisely when waist circumference exceeds 35 inches for women or 40 inches for men. Finally, Section 5, Dietary and Pharmacological Interventions, Food Systems and Medicine. Food technologists and dietitians, this one's for you. Dietary innovations like Contin, which is known in the West as agar-agar, offer brilliant structural solutions. It contains a remarkable 81.2% fiber and completely 0 calories. Once ingested, it mechanically expands to 3 times its mass inside the stomach. This naturally induces a mechanical feeling of fullness to combat the heavy caloric density of modern diets. It essentially offers a physical, structural solution to that chemical problem of leptin resistance we discussed earlier. For the pharmacologists, when we explore therapeutic interventions, we really have to balance our targets carefully. On one hand, we have orlistat, which works locally in the gastrointestinal tract to block the absorption of about 1/3 of dietary fat. Then, we have central nervous system neuromodulation, like sibutramine, which suppresses appetite centrally. But we also see the delicate risks involved here. Take rimonabant, for example. It's a cannabinoid receptor antagonist that successfully produced weight loss, but it had to be suspended due to severe psychiatric side effects. Tinkering with the brain's fundamental reward and hunger systems requires immense precision. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. As we decode genetic copy number variants like FTO, as we map gut hormones like ghrelin, and fully grasp the profound toxicology of central adiposity, it becomes abundantly clear that there is no magic bullet here. Will the future of obesity management rely entirely on highly individualized, multi-targeted therapies? We really hope this explainer sparks vital collaboration across all your respective disciplines. Solving the obesity epidemic will absolutely require a unified, rigorous systems biology approach. Thank you so much for engaging with the science today.